And 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to this week's episode of the CC Mouse Podcast. I'm Dan, and you can find me everywhere at RFS Dan.
I'm Jess, and you can find me everywhere at Snowdogs Vlogs. I need to have something with my name in it and not like the dogs. But then there wouldn't be anything posted there, so.
Right. Also, that's your moneymaker.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can't leave that. Can't leave your dogs out of the title.
True.
What would it be? It's the Jess Show with Jess. Just
I don't know. My name on Facebook used to be Jess Snowdogs.
Do people ever send you mail to Jess Snowdogs?
Not really. No.
They don't think.
No, I get stuff to Snowdogs Vlogs that then has my name underneath it. So.
Well, today's Memphis' birthday, so happy birthday, Memphis.
It's Memphis' birthday.
You look like
it's Memphis' birthday.
You look like you went through a lot of trouble to set up that video.
Yeah, I overthought it. I don't think I overthought. Yeah, I did. I overthought it too late in the game. Like, I have the problem with coming up with ideas last minute, and it was very last minute. Like, I had the idea, I had the thought, and then it was like, oh, I gotta go get a helium tank, and then I needed more balloons, and then it just kept rolling downhill, and I'm like, this is taking forever. But it turned out really cute, and the idea of wanting to have a balloon backdrop worked. So I guess the 4 hours working on a video was worth it.
It looked really good. It looked really elaborate.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think it's going to look really cute. She opened up all of her little gifts, and there was like the little thing in the background, and she chewed on a bunch of different stuff. And she did a puzzle. She did some level 2 puzzle treat thing that she figured out in 5 seconds. Oh. She's really good at those.
Does she know what's going on? Does she understand that it's her day?
I don't know. Maybe. She seems like, she wants to do everything, so it seems kind of like it. And I think Shelby kind of realizes that Memphis is getting extra special treatment because she's extra whiny. So yeah. I did take Memphis today to that school, and then when I came back, I had to go to the post office. So I told Shelby, I'm like, I will take you to the post office. So Memphis stayed here, and I took Shelby into the post office with me.
You took Memphis to dog school?
I took Memphis to an elementary school to talk to a classroom.
It was like for the pets, like pet day, or for you, like, look, this is what I do for my career?
It was actually for Alpena County Animal Facility for the animal shelter. We were going to talk about being a responsible pet owner. So, like, we were talking to the kids about spaying and neutering and why it's important to spay and neuter and why it's important to spend time with your pets and, do different things with them, take them for walks, and really let them be a part of your life.
Oh, that's kind of cool. How many people are there?
I don't know how many kids are in the school. There's probably like 28 kids or 30 kids in each class, and it was kindergarten through 6th grade. The whole gymnasium was full, so.
Oh, cool.
It was fun.
Was it? You just brought Memphis?
I just brought Memphis because Shelby is very vocal, and she's very vocal when people try to talk or all the time. Mm-hmm. So sometimes in situations like that, when it's just me going, like if Jamie would have been there, it would have been different because he could have walked Shelby around. But it was really early, and I was just going to go, and it wasn't supposed to take long. So I'm like, I'll just take Memphis with me.
Right.
And I just took her. So Shelby stayed home. But
was it just you guys, or was there more pets there?
There was kittens that were very young, 4 weeks old maybe, and I didn't know they were bringing the kittens. I wasn't informed of beforehand. So right. Memphis did really well, even with the kittens making noise. But then they took one of the kittens out of the carrier, and Memphis saw it. And then it was all over. She was like, she had no interest in paying attention to me. She didn't want to listen to me. She didn't care what I had to say. She didn't care that I had treats. She wanted to see the kitten.
And that was it.
Yep.
I like how you said she just wants to see the kitten.
Yeah, she just wanted to see the kitten. Well, I don't really know if Memphis would hurt a cat because actually after I took her to our local pet store, and they have 2 cats there. They have Levi and Borange, and Levi is fearless. He's never been afraid of cats. He's never been afraid of dogs. He could care less. So I took Memphis in there, and Levi kind of saw us walk in the door, and I'm thinking, oh, great, just stay where you're sleeping, cat.
Right.
And in 2 seconds, he was right in front of Memphis. And it was actually really strange. Like, I kind of told Andrew, I'm like, I'm going to have to take her back out to the car because she's going to try to eat this cat. And he's like, oh, just let him interact and see what happens. Because Levi doesn't care about dogs. Levi's not scared at all. And he wasn't kidding. Levi got right in Memphis's face. And when Levi went to sniff Memphis's nose, Memphis completely froze. did not even move, just stood there.
Got called on her bluff.
And I'm like, I got a hold of her harness. I'm like, man, if you try to snap at this cat, I am pulling you back. Well, this is going to be okay. And she did really good. And then when Levi turned around and broke eye contact with her, that was when she freaked out. I don't know if she would have actually hurt him or she really did want to play with him, but I wasn't going to find out.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you on that. Was there any other animals there?
No, just Memphis and then the kittens. And we brought Memphis because we don't have any dogs in the animal shelter yet because we don't have a building yet. And we kind of just wanted to show both sides of everything. So they asked me to bring Memphis. And I'm like, she's not a rescue. But I guess I can bring her. She's really good, so I'll bring her.
Was it more of a meet and greet or was it just, you just talked?
Just talked. It was an educational thing. They didn't want us to let the kids really interact with the animals because it would have taken forever. Like if everybody wanted to pet her, it would have taken forever. So it was more of just like an educational thing. But like we talked a little bit. I talked a little bit about my YouTube channel, and I asked the kids, how many of you here watch YouTube? And of course, every hand went up. Right. And some of the kids knew who Memphis was, so they were like, I've watched her on YouTube. So I kind of did that a little bit.
My mommy said her comments are disabled. When you meet people like that, do the dogs get sick? You know how like people go on the convention tours and they're always getting sick and they don't want to shake hands. Is the same thing apply with the dogs?
Most things that people get, dogs can't get. But 2 years ago, we took Shelby to the Pet Expo in Novi, and she came back and had a cold. She actually had a cough. And I don't know if it was actually kennel cough because she did have her Bordetella shot, which is supposed to help with that. Mm-hmm. But she did have a cough, and she had to be put on antibiotics for, I think it was 7 days just to make sure it got cleared up. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the places we go, everybody that brings their pets, they have to bring their shot records. So like when you bring your pets in, you have to come in with a shot record that says, here's all my health information for my animals. The pet expos we go to where other animals are allowed, they have to have all that information. So it's not something I really worry about.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I usually agree to go to different ones. It's like if everybody's got to have their shot records and everybody that comes in with an outside animal has to have records,
right?
I'm not that worried about it.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty safe. Are there usually like at the conventions, because you're going to one this coming weekend, right?
Yep, we're leaving tomorrow for by the time this goes up, we'll have already been there. The West Michigan Pet Expo. And then in 2 weeks, we go to the Canadian Pet Expo. And then in June, apparently we're coming to California.
That is right. What day in June?
June 22nd. We'll be in Los Angeles, California at I already forgot the name of the place, the City Center something.
It'll be hot.
Yeah. The City Market Social House for Petcon.
I have never heard of that place, but that doesn't mean anything.
It's in downtown LA, I guess.
It's about an hour and 10 minutes south of me.
Well, apparently you're going to have to come visit us because I'm not going to drive 36 hours across country.
Right.
For you guys to be like, oh, we can't come.
Yeah, we're 90 minutes too far away. Sorry.
We're busy.
That'll be good. So it's the convention circuit for you. Do you have concerns when you pack up and we'll call it on going on tour?
I always have the issues where I think too much and I always think I'm going to forget something, and Jamie always has to remind me if we forget something, we can just buy it when we get there. If it's something important and we forgot it, we'll just buy it when we get there.
Right.
And that's what I try to remind myself of every time we pack up to go places. It's harder when we don't take the travel trailer because I have separate sets of everything in my camper. And when we take just the car, I have to rethink everything. It's I need to make sure I have all of these different things. Make sure I have the first aid kit for the dogs. Make sure I have food for the dogs. Make sure I have all their harnesses. And I have second sets of everything in the travel trailer. So
yeah, I guess you would need to just for backup. Do you ever worry that the dogs don't perform? I hope it's a good day for the dogs, or is that never an issue?
Not really. There have been times Memphis is good all the time. Even if she's sleeping and people are petting her, she's just great. With Shelby, I watch her a little more closely because she can get a little more, not irritated is not the word. She gets a little bit, and I don't even know if it's anxiety, but she gets to the point where maybe it is anxiety. She gets anxiety. She gets a little nervous sometimes, and I don't like her to be uncomfortable. So I watch Shelby's body language more than Memphis. And when Shelby gets uncomfortable, that's usually when Jamie will take her and he'll just go off to the hotel room for an hour or so, let her chill. But then she always wants to come back. So he brings her back and she'll do good for a while. And then we take her back out. Right. And kind of like when Oakley got older, Oakley couldn't be in there for a full 8 hours. Memphis will sit with me the entire time. She could care less. But Shelby's a little bit older and a little bit more set in her ways, and she needs her nap time. And, you know,
I would just imagine Oakley being fatigued.
Oakley got tired really fast. Standing was hard for her. A lot of people was hard for her. Shelby's really good with the people, and she really likes to see everything. But she just has little things that you can tell where she's like, I'm just tired. You know, it's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm a little nervous. It's a little bit too much. Like when we were at Petcon, she didn't like the escalator. If she could see the escalator, it was all over. She was terrified of it.
That's so interesting what the animals are afraid of. Recently, Mooch just gets more and more afraid of the vacuum, and I'm like, dude, come on.
It's not gonna eat you.
It's not gonna eat you. So in convention situations, you would say that Memphis is the optimal style of dog to have.
100%.
So you're going on record right now to say that she's your favorite dog.
No.
See how I was trying to trap you into that soundbite? I will say when I was out there, though, she was really good on just like, I don't want to call it performing, but she knew where to be at the right times. She
is an extrovert.
Yeah.
She very much feeds off of, like I do, I'm an extrovert, very much feeds off of the energy of other people and the energy of people around her and what's going on. Where I would say Shelby is probably more introvert. She does really well with it to a point, and then it's too much, and then it's like, nope, okay, this is too much. You know, the noise or the echo or something just might be a little bit too much. Even when I took her into the post office today, which she's been into the post office many times before, there was just something off today. Like she went in, and as soon as we got in there, she turned around and headed for the door. She's like, nope, I don't want to be in the post office today. And like she starts to shake a little bit, and then she starts to pant, and you can tell she's kind of having a little bit of a panic moment. But then a lady walked in with 5 kids, and as soon as and they were very well behaved kids, thankfully. As soon as she walked in with these kids, like she was like, oh, there's kids. Oh, this is great. And then all the kids were like, it was so funny. Each one of them asked if they could pet her. Like it wasn't like one asked and then they all came at her.
Right.
Each kid was like, can I pet her? And I'm like, wow, your mother trained you well.
You should have just picked one for no reason and just been like, no.
You can't. Even when you rescue a dog and you think you know you're getting what personality you're getting when you meet them and you're like, oh, it's going to have this type of personality. Then you actually get them home and they're not anything like what you thought they were going to be. So like,
right.
I hope that the dog is more extroverted, and I think it will be, you know, I mean, I think it's something that when we do go and get a new dog or, you know, a puppy or whatever, hopefully we'll be able to expose it to a lot of different things, and that way it will be, because Memphis got exposed to a lot of things as a puppy. We traveled early with her. I took her places, and I think that matters a lot. You want to make sure that they realize that everything is fun and amazing, and let's do all the things.
Do you think that's something that's already in the dog when you get a dog, or do you think that's something that you train it to be?
No, I definitely think it's something that's in the dog. Memphis's personality is what Siberian Huskies are really supposed to be like. Free-spirited, but at the same time, very friendly, very much a member of a family or a pack. Some people call it pack-orientated. I always say Huskies are very pack-orientated, which is why it's better to have 2.
Right.
They like to be around other dogs. They like to be around people. Huskies that are bred well have personalities like Memphis. Memphis's entire family is identical to her.
What was Shiloh like?
Shiloh was kind of a mix between Memphis and Shelby. Like, if you took the bests of both of them, Shiloh was very cuddly. She loved to lay down with you and just sleep. You know, if you were just going to sleep on the couch, she wanted to be right there with you. But at the same time, that dog would give you attitude like Shelby does. Like she would, if she did something wrong, Shiloh was great because if she did something wrong and you tried to yell at her, she would yell right back. I mean, and she would talk back to you. It was hilarious. But she was kind of right in between. I would say right in between a Memphis and a Shelby.
Did she go to the shows and stuff like that? Or was that before you were show bound?
That was when we had Shiloh, we were in the very early stages of going to the Snow Dogs, and we didn't really do like a whole lot of big things. Right. She went to, where was it? We took her to the museum, I think it was, and did a presentation on dog sledding. And she was featured on a lottery ticket. So she had her place, but
whoa! You don't just get to skip over that little tidbit. Wait a minute, like a well, I guess I can't say California State Lottery, but like Michigan State Lottery ticket.
Yeah, she was on a lottery ticket. She won a photo contest, and she was featured on a lottery ticket called the Lucky Dog.
No
her
way.
9 other dogs were on a lottery ticket. You had to have known this. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know this. Did you? I mean, obviously you got one, but you're not allowed to play, right? Because that's your dog on there.
Well, they sent us a whole bunch of voided tickets, like fake tickets, so that we would have some to keep. And then, yeah, we bought a bunch of those tickets. And then all my friends would buy them, and they would give me the ones with Shiloh on them. So I have them somewhere.
How much money can you win? You could be sitting on some riches.
Oh, I don't even remember how much. It was $1 lottery ticket. It wasn't anything super fancy.
That's cool. And that wasn't just local, right? That was like the full state.
That was a full state. Yep. She got a front page. She was on the front page of the Alpena News. She was on a couple of other newspapers in the state as well, where they talked about her being on the lottery ticket. And it's kind of funny because people in town still know me for that dog being on a lottery ticket. Like I was showing my aunt's house yesterday, and one of the people that came, we were talking about dogs, and she's like, "You're the girl who had the dog on the lottery ticket." And I'm going,
"Holy cow.
That was seriously like 2011 when that happened. Like it was so long ago. I think it was 2011. It might have actually been before that. Either way, it was a long time ago. This woman remembered that we were the people with the dog on the lottery ticket.
And your town's that small.
Yeah, we're that small.
That probably made the front paper. Nope, don't remember hearing anything about that at all. I did see the vacuum box, though, and you wouldn't have told me about the vacuum box if I didn't stumble upon it. With who's on the vacuum box? Memphis?
Shelby.
Is it Shelby?
Yeah. Yeah, that was another photo contest that I entered both. I had Shiloh and Shelby at the time, and I entered Shelby into that. I entered them both into that contest, and Shiloh took first place. There was like 12 weeks, and what it was going to be was at the end of 12 weeks, the top 3 dogs were all going to be pitted against each other. So there would be like 60 photos total or something. Does that math work out? Probably not, but something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
So, and yeah, that math does not work out. But anyway, we were picking like the top 3 from each week, and then at the end they were going to go through them. Shiloh won first place in one of the weeks, and they sent us like Abyssal Spot Bot vacuum cleaner. And then like 3 weeks later, Shelby took second place in one of the weeks, and they sent us, I don't remember what it was, they sent us something else. So then at the end of it, I technically should have had both my dogs in the running, and Bissell called me and they're like, "Look, we can't really put both of your dogs in," because there was 5 prizes. The top prize was like $10,000 donation to the animal shelter of your choice.
Ooh, that would have been a good one.
And then, the top 5, I think it was, got to have your pets on a vacuum cleaner box. And I ended up, they're like, "You can't have both of them in it." And I'm like, "Oh." They're like, "You got to pick one." And I'm like, "Well," and since Shiloh was on the lottery ticket not long before that, I'm like, "Well, it's Shelby's turn." So I'm like, "All right, put Shelby in it." So they put Shelby in it, and she took, I don't even remember now, 3rd place, I think, overall. I think we got $1,000 donation to the animal shelter, and then
awesome.
She had a full photo shoot.
That's really cool. Is that a story that people know also, or is this a hidden gem?
I have videos of both of those up on the dog's YouTube channel.
Wow, I guess I just missed out on the lotto ticket story. That's cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Now that we've derailed ourselves from whatever we were talking about in the first place.
We did. We just made it all about the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Memphis's birthday, so we'll let it slide.
Yeah, happy birthday, Memphis. You're what, like 7?
She's 6.
6, close.
Yep.
Good guess. Good guess, Dan.
Good guess. You were close. She's 6 today. My aunt put her house up for sale, one of her houses up for sale, and instead of listing it through a realtor, they're listing it for sale by owner. Well, I'm listing it for sale by owner because sometimes it's just easier. Sometimes we could sell a house a little bit faster, for a little bit less without having to have a real estate agent involved. And I got picked to show the house because, as I said, I actually was a realtor a long time ago. So the house, it's a really crazy story. I'll tell you the first part, and then I'll tell you the second part. I'll try not to make it super long. The house was bought in 2002, and my aunt bought it when just before Jamie and I got married, so that we would have a place to live because we couldn't afford to buy a house, and we were getting married. So she bought it so we could rent it from her. A few months later, after we got married, Greg moved in with us. Not long after that, well, even before that, there was a lot of strange things that were happening in the house, like slamming doors, windows opening and closing, lights going on and off, like weird stuff. And upstairs, there's a bedroom. And if you walk through that bedroom, there's another room. And it's just a little room. Like, you could call it a walk-in closet, but it's not really a walk-in closet. And off to the sides of each of that room, there's little attic doors. So you can go into like the little attic. And it's just a creepy little room. But On the back of the door, there was a name written on it. And I don't remember it being there. And then Greg moved in and suddenly the name was there. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. It probably was there, but I don't remember. Anyway, the name Beth was written on the door. Really strange.
Creepy.
So we pretty much started calling all the strange things happening in the house. We're like, we just must have a ghost and her name must be Beth. The scariest, weirdest thing that ever happened was we were at work and Greg left for work and we had a door that had one of those chain locks that you have to lock from the inside. Let me repeat that. You have to lock it from the inside.
Right, like you see in hotels.
Exactly. It's a little chain lock. Well, we never locked it when we were leaving because you can't unlock it, and that's the door you would go out has the chain lock. So you'd walk out the door and you deadbolt it or whatever. So we all had left for work, and then Greg had a short shift. So like he had a 4-hour shift and Jamie and I were both on an 8-hour shift. So we left before him and we're coming home after him.
Mm-hmm.
So Greg left the house after we did, locked the door behind him, got off of work before we did, went home, tried to open the door, and the chain lock was locked. So Beth locked him out of the house. When Greg moved into Beth's room. Like he had the room and the room next to it. And I think he just really upset her. So she would do stuff to him all the time. And it was Beth the Ghost. Well, long story short, eventually we moved out of that house. We had some renters that moved in, and then my brother and his wife lived there for a little bit. Uh-huh. And I remember asking my sister-in-law, anything strange going on upstairs? And she's like, yeah, there's always weird noises and slamming doors and different things. And I'm like, oh, that's Beth. And she's like, Beth? I'm like, that's Beth. That's the ghost that lives up there. Her name's on the back of the door. And she's like, are you kidding? And I'm like, no. So I told her the whole story. And she goes, that doesn't make me feel any better.
Right?
I'm like, well, that's Beth. I'm like, I think she's harmless. She just doesn't like it that somebody's living in her room.
Yeah.
So this is, again, we bought the house in 2002. Jamie and I moved out of it a couple years ago. My brother and his wife moved out of it a couple of months ago because they bought a house down the road from us. Mm-hmm. Now the house is up for sale. So yesterday, I'm showing the house. Uh-huh. I showed it to 6 different people yesterday. These people come, people coming and going. The 5th set of people that come to the house, it was a husband and wife about the same age as Jamie and I. Mm-hmm. And a lady, probably the same age as my mom. And they come in the house and they're walking around, and the lady has twisted her ankle and she's on like crutches. So she's kind of hobbling around the house, and we're talking. And we walk in, and there's a garage, and there was a garage that was converted into a room, and that was before we bought it. So we walk in, and the lady opens up the door to this room that used to be a garage, and she goes, oh my gosh, it looks exactly the same. And I'm going, what? What is going on? And she turns and looks at me and she goes, my mom and dad built this house. I'm like, no way. What? And she's like, yeah, it used to be a garage. Like the whole thing used to be a garage. And then they converted it to a house and added on the garage that then got turned into a bedroom. She told me that they had to turn it into a bedroom because her brother had an accident and became paralyzed from the waist down, and he couldn't make it up and down the steps. Now, mind you, this is a 3-bedroom house, and I found out that at one point in time, there were 7 children living in this house, which is a lot of children. So anyway, this woman starts telling me all these really cool things about the house, and, oh, my dad built the built-in cabinets. Her dad built them by hand. The hardwood floor, he did all that by hand. She was telling me all these neat things. Well, it was her daughter and her husband, and they went upstairs, and I stayed downstairs with her because she couldn't make it up the steps, of course, because she had a broken ankle or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to her, and we're talking, and quite a bit of time had gone by, and she looks at me and she goes, is my name still on the back of the door? And I'm like, no. Are you Beth? And she goes, yeah, my name's on the back of the door. I'm like, you're Beth. And she goes, yeah. I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. Like, my brain was racing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Beth. Beth's not a ghost.
Oh, shit. No way.
I'm not kidding. I was so like excited to tell Greg and Jamie this story. I made Greg come over, and I wouldn't even tell it to Jamie till Greg got here. I'm like, I have to tell you guys together. Like, you have to hear this at the same time. So
you told them the story of Beth, of the ghost Beth.
I did. She was laughing. She's like, no, I'm not a ghost. I'm still around. I'm like, well, somebody's doing it. She's like, I don't know who it is, but it's not me.
Ask her if she snuck in the house and locked the inside chain lock on the door? How do you solve that mystery? Did you guys try to figure that out?
She had told me she didn't really tell me a whole lot. Like I asked her if anybody had ever died in the house, and she said not that she knew of.
So all this time you guys thought the house was haunted by someone that might have taken their lives or died tragically in the house, and it was all nothing.
And yeah, and we always thought it was a kid because the way Beth was written on the back of the door actually looks like
Right.
a child's handwriting.
How old does Beth look now?
The house was built in 1948,
Oh, wow.
and she was born 4 years after that. So she was born, yeah,
Okay.
she was born in 1952.
So she wasn't like Titanic lady old, but she was old.
No, yeah, no, crazy. It
That
was
is
so crazy.
so crazy.
As soon as they left, and I had the next people coming to look at the house right after that. As soon as they left, I called my mom and I'm like, "Mom, you're never gonna believe this."
That is so
Like I met the
crazy.
people whose parents built the house. They were looking at like the countertops, and she goes, "Right before my mom died, we bought these countertops." And her daughter, which would have been the lady that built the house, it would have been her granddaughter. She's like, "I remember sitting right here. My grandma would sit right here in a recliner and just chain smoke like crazy." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
What if at the end she's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is on an Indian burial ground, so that's probably why it's all crazy. So so do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in something.
Okay, but did you based on this person, or like do you now have to rethink whether you think ghosts are real or not because all the stuff that you thought that happened didn't really happen via ghost?
No, it still really happened. Apparently, just Beth didn't do it.
Oh, that's the best ghost story ever.
We were just blaming the wrong person. We're
Right.
blaming the wrong ghost.
Right. Only something like this could happen to you because you live in such a small town where everybody knows everybody. Literally, you proved it when we walked around Meyer and had to pretty much glad hand everybody like you were the president.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is why we called this Country Mouse City Mouse. I do live in a town where everybody knows everybody, and I actually, I feel like I'm telling all the stories today, but I have a good story about the benefits of living in a small town and knowing literally everybody.
Go on.
So I had some friends of mine that were moving, and they scheduled to rent a U-Haul truck, and they were supposed to pick it up on, I don't know what day it was, Saturday morning. So they were supposed to pick it up in the morning, and they rented a small truck. Well, when they called, they're like, "Oh, we have a 26-foot truck for you." And they're going, "We don't need and or want a 26-foot truck." And they're like, "Oh, well, we're not going to charge you any more for it." And they're going, "No, we don't want a 26-foot truck. We want a tiny truck." "Oh, well, we have a tiny truck coming in at like 4 o'clock." "Okay, well, just call us when the tiny truck gets here." Okay. Day goes on. Everything, we're thinking, all right, truck will be here at 4 o'clock. It'll be all good. We'll pack it up, and then you'll be able to get on your way the next morning, because that was the plan. Pack the truck, leave the next morning. So anyway, the day goes on, and at like 5 o'clock, they call and they're like, "Where's the truck?" "Oh, the truck that was supposed to be dropped off here at 4 o'clock got dropped off in Saginaw," which is about 2.5 hours south of where we live.
Yeah, that's pretty far down there.
That was the first story. Then it turns out that the truck didn't get dropped off in Saginaw. Even though we live in a tiny town, we have 2 U-Haul rental places. We have Northern Tool with U-Haul rental, and then we have an actual place that's just U-Haul rental.
No Starbucks, but 2 U-Haul rentals.
So it turns out they dropped the truck off at the wrong U-Haul place. Well, it's after hours. They're not open. But the key's in their drop box, and the truck is there.
Right.
So my friend was calling, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to take this over." So I start calling. I called the place that was originally supposed to have the truck and had a fit. And I'm like, "I know it's not your fault, but we need that truck. How do we get that truck? You don't know anybody at the other U-Haul place? We have to know somebody at the other U-Haul place."
Yeah.
"Oh no, we can't do that." And I said, "Okay, here's the deal. If I can find somebody at the other place and get that key and get that truck, will you come back into town and finish off this rental?" And they went, yeah, that's not a problem, because they only lived like 10 miles out of town. I'm like, okay. So I got on Facebook. You know me, any of my Alpina friends, I need to know somebody that works at, or can get me in contact with, or can get me a phone number for somebody that works at Northern Tool. And I blasted it out on Facebook. Within, I don't know, minutes, it had been shared by half my friends in town. And I'm going, man, somebody's got to know, like an employee that can get me a number for a manager or something. And sure enough, not even 10 minutes later, I got a message from a close friend of mine. She goes, oh, I know the guy that manages the place. I'll send him a text message. I'm like, give him my phone number. Not even 3 minutes later, my phone rings. I pick up the phone. The guy goes, so-and-so said that you need a U-Haul truck and it's kind of an emergency. And I'm like, no. Here's the story. We had one, but we rented it from the other people because you weren't open today. And I went, that's the only reason we didn't choose your business. You weren't open today. Otherwise, we always choose your... That was a lie. We don't always choose their business. But I'm like, okay, please. And he goes, so the truck is there? I'm like, it's there and we need it. And he goes, all right, meet me there in 5 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding? So I rush over there. We go in. You can tell that the guy's a little bit irritated that he has to be there. And I'm like, you don't know what this means to us. Like, really, you don't even know. I'm like, I'll buy you lunch. My family owns Take 5 Deli downtown. I'll get you lunch. And he's like, yeah. And he looks at me and he goes, you're just lucky that it was halftime for the state game. I'm like, how could the timing not have worked out any better that I got a hold of this guy as halftime started for the Michigan State game?
Wow, perfect timing. I thought he was going to say, I just did it because you're that lady who's got the dogs and the scratchers.
The best part about all of it is out of everybody in town, I don't know this guy. Like, I don't think he looked familiar, so I've probably seen him around, but right. I don't actually know him. Like, we're not friends on Facebook. We have mutual friends on Facebook, which is great, but we didn't actually know each other. Because I'm like, even when I walked in, I'm like, I'm probably going to know this guy. I'm like, I don't know this guy.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. That would not have happened here at all. That would not. I would.
That would never happen in a big city.
No.
That guy, he did not have to come in. He did not have to call me. He did not have to do any of that. But when I said please and told him what was going on, he was like, okay. That is why I like living in a small town.
Yeah, the benefits. That's so crazy. Even, you tell me about people pulling over and helping and stuff. It's just something that, like, I wouldn't even fathom trying to get a hold of anybody. It's closed for the day. I turn around and go home. There's no way the manager's calling me back.
I knew it was a last-ditch effort, but I also knew that if somebody knew somebody, if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows, that there was a chance. And I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Nobody calls us and we have to go tomorrow morning? Right. That's fine, But
you wouldn't stop there. You would have called corporate.
I was ready. I was ready to call U-Haul and have a fit. But I didn't have to.
Oh, man, it's that lady again. Hey, hurry up. How many dollars in Applebee gift cards do we have? Let's just go straight to the gift cards. Just get her Applebee's. Oh, out of Applebee's. Just more Applebee's.
At least I was nice about it. That does remind me. I got to get that gift certificate over to him from the deli.
Yeah, you should, because that was pretty awesome of him. I'm sure he's got to be beers in at that point. There's no way he's watching football and not drinking beers.
He brought his kid with him, and his kid literally sounded like he had bronchitis. He was in the back coughing so hard. So, like, he brought his kid with them. It was in the middle of it was the halftime show for the state game. I'm like,
see, now it just turns sad. Now you drug the little poor tiny Tim from his breathing treatments out. Where are we going, Daddy? Make that $10.
The best part is like, they told me to pick up the truck and take it to the other place. And then when we got there, he goes, no, we're going to just do it right here. I'm like, and I looked at him and I'm like, good, because I'd rather give you the money anyway.
Yeah. Be open on Sundays, please.
Yep. He's like, yeah, all right. I'm like, don't worry, I will send everybody here from now on.
So
I swear. After
that, crisis averted?
Crisis averted.
Awesome.
I saved the day.
And you're 2 for 2, man. You're a Ghostbuster and...
I had so many good stories this week.
I know. Busting ghosts, cracking stories, going to school. You're like a superhero going to school to meet the children.
It's just been a good week.
Yeah.
It has. It's been a good week.
So, Jess, last week we had people leave voice messages for us with their questions or comments about the show at speakpipe.com/ccmousepodcast. And today we have another message.
Yay!
Yeah. So let's listen.
Hi, my name is Laura and I'm from Austria. I'm 22 years old and a huge fan of the CC Mouse podcast. Thank you very much for asking me to ask you a question for your next podcast. So, my question is, what do you think of doing private things during work? Is it okay? Is it not okay? What if your employee does a really great job and manages everything, but does private things during work? I think that's an interesting topic we can discuss on.
My dog sled came from Austria.
Right?
Yeah, the dog sled that I bought last year, the little husky buggy, came from Austria.
Hey, you want to hear how stupid of an American I am? I think there was some Hercules movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in, and he rode a boat from Austria, over to the States. And I thought that all my life, I thought Austria was like next to Australia. It was like the little island, like how we have Hawaii, they have Australia and they have Austria. So it wasn't until maybe like my early 30s before I was like, whoa, what's right here? Well, Austria. How did they invade Austria? Oh.
That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, I suck.
I know where Austria is because my great grandma came from there.
Oh, and your sled.
And my sled. I just thought that was cool. And I'm from Austria. I'm like, oh my gosh, my dog sled's from Austria. Anyway.
I love the accent, though.
Yes, me too.
Your English is good. What do you think about what she said?
I feel like years ago when I first started working for somebody else, I think that was like a no-brainer. You just didn't, when you were at work, you did work stuff.
Right.
But now with the internet and everybody's got cell phones and you can get on Facebook and so many people spend so much time doing stuff at work. So I kind of think that if you're getting all your stuff done and every once in a while you pull out your phone and you check Facebook or you're doing something, but you're good at what you do, you're getting your work done, this is going to sound really bad. I don't see a problem with it because I know that a happy workplace creates more productivity.
Yeah.
So if you're there and you're doing your stuff and you're cracking it out and you're doing all your reports and you're getting everything done and you take 10 minutes to get on Facebook and check a message or watch a silly video and then you're back to work doing other stuff, I feel like you have increased productivity because you're happier. Studies have actually shown that if you can create a happier workplace, you get increased productivity.
Right.
So I feel like if you're getting your work done, then and not overdoing it, like if you're working 8 hours, an hour of it shouldn't be spent goofing off. But a break here and there I think it's okay.
I feel like this is more of a modern question. I feel like way back in the day, there wasn't anything to do. There was no social media. There was no phone stuff. You could read a magazine, but that only lasted a few minutes. You just kind of worked.
Yeah.
If you slacked off, you just stared out the window or just did lack of work. But there wasn't really much to distract you in the workplace until recently. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I feel like, I worked at McDonald's where the motto is, if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean.
Right.
Like that is what it is. Like, but nowadays it's so different.
Yes.
So different.
Yes.
But also to the same thing, back then, people were allowed smoke breaks. They could take 5 minutes for a smoke break once an hour. It's kind of the same thing.
I'm on my phone all day at the bike shop, but I'm running the social media. People send me questions. They direct message me questions. I get customers that want to know what color shoes that we have in stock, and they're giving me their phone numbers. I'm straight texting pictures to them. Like, things have changed a lot since I remember.
Yeah. It's a different reality. It's a different, and that's kind of why I think I would say if I was running a company and my employees were on their phone once in a while or doing something private while at work, it is what it is. As long as they're getting their work done and that their productivity and that what they need to be done isn't slacking or lacking because of it.
Right. Well, it depends on the company.
Yeah, it does depend on the company. Yeah, because if you're an emergency room surgeon or something, get off your phone.
Yeah, right. Okay, so when I worked at NASA, there was the big campus that we were on, and then there was hangars that were spread out, a half a mile here, a mile away there, that were connected to the flight line. And in these hangars would be all the people that work in there, and you'd go to fix their computers or do whatever they needed you to do. And you would go there, and there was low traffic. There was a lot of people working in there, but there was no people to oversee in the place. And there was this one guy, and I remember going in there a few times into his huge office. He had this big office, but he had all this stuff in boxes. And this was kind of pre-Amazon. eBay was doing okay at the time. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I'm digging through boxes and stuff, trying to find where the cable's going into the wall. And come to find out, and this guy reminded me of Creed from The Office. Like one of those guys. So I remember one day going back over there and his stuff was like locked up. And I was like, what had happened? So after a while, the story got around that he was just running a complete eBay shop out of his office. Like that's all he did. It showed, because at NASA we can see what sites you go to for how long and what's going on. And we ran a survey of what people were going to, and Sports Illustrated and eBay were like the top visited sites that people were going to on campus there. But he was running a complete eBay shop out of his office, and it wasn't until they couldn't figure out why there was so much traffic during peak hours that he was there going through the routers there, they finally busted him on it, and he lost his job and everything. But yeah, so there is a time and a place, I guess, and trying to run a online business out of NASA is not it.
That's a little over the line there.
Right, where I'm running around on my phone putting things on OfferUp every 5 minutes. So I guess it just depends on the environment. I don't know if I ever really messed around. Like at my old jobs, I didn't really like slack off like that. At my new job, if I want to check something, I can check something. So that desire makes you want to do it less frequently, because I'm allowed to. Right.
I mean, when I worked at the deli, when Jamie and I ran the deli, we had downtime, and when everything was done, as crazy as it is, there were times where I was editing videos for YouTube at work.
I remember that.
It was downtime.
Yes, I remember that. Or like, I won't pull out my phone in front of a customer.
Right.
I don't do stuff like that, but it's kind of like a tool, that I use sometimes. So.
Yeah, it's a different world.
It is. Well, thank you, Laura, for the question. If you guys at home would like to leave us a question, visit us at speakpipe.com/ccmousepodcast, where you can leave your questions or comments on the episodes. You guys can leave your Instagram handles on there so people can find you.
Yeah, so we can find you too.
Yeah.
That's fun. I really like that.
Yeah.
I like that we get to involve the audience. That's always one of my favorite things.
Yes. Yeah, the more we can be interactive, the better.
Yeah.
I like how the podcast is evolving.
I do too. I like the fact that we moved it.
Oh yeah, so we're no longer on Simplecast anymore for any of you guys that went to Simplecast. We had, algorithm issues, if you want to call it that.
That evil algorithm follows us everywhere.
Yes, it should be called Egorhythm, because I just can't tell how many people are listening, or the metrics are just completely wrong over and over again. So we switched to Podbean, which sounds fun.
It does sound fun. The switch has been kind of a pain.
Mm-hmm.
But we're figuring it out.
I've learned that podcast is still new, and it's still in its infancy, even though it's been around for a long time, because things are not streamlined.
Not at all.
Not at all streamlined.
We'll get it figured out, though.
Oh, yeah, this is a good adventure. So go to ccmousepodcast.com, where you can find updated links to what we hope is your favorite podcast. That's a little forward of me to say. We appreciate all your guys' feedback. You guys are so good to us.
Yeah, I really like that people like the little soundbite transitions that we're using now. I think that it's nice to be able to read what people have to say and be like, oh, let's try that, or let's try that. I mean, I had no idea. I didn't, like I've said before, I didn't even listen to podcasts before you told me we should try this. And now I kind of do, but it is very much a learning. Like, I'm still learning how to do podcast notes, and I still don't even think I'm doing that right, but it is what it is.
I can't believe you do that. You write a whole dang book for every episode. I'm like, wow, that is dedication. That's
what the internet says to do.
Well, the internet can't be wrong.
No, not at all.
And let's keep evolving this podcast. So, I don't know, some of you guys were talking about maybe a live show or doing some video stuff, and we're open to all that. But as we learn new tricks each week, then we can apply them to the podcast.
Yeah.
I think our latest trick is SpeakPipe and moving stuff over to Podbean.
Yeah, that's been a trick, that's for sure.
We really do appreciate it. We have a lot of fun making the episodes. We do read all the feedback.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for this week's episode of the CC Mouse Podcast. You can find us every Wednesday on your favorite podcast app. You can go to our Facebook page at Country Mouse City Mouse Podcast, and you can find us on the Instagram at CC Mouse Podcast. So we'll see you next week. Same mouse time, same mouse podcast. Bye.
Bye. We did the thing.